All right, in this video, we're gonna just go over row level security for Supabase. Not exciting, but I wanna show how we can use it, especially with their anonymous auth or with auth, but with anonymous auth to quickly make an application where you can show resources or tables or rows in a table based on who the user is. And again, this is nothing amazing. AI can spit this out, but understanding how it works, making row level security part of your workflow is really good. And then when AI builds stuff for you, you can have a sense of when it's not working or when it's maybe cutting corners that it shouldn't cut or that you forgot something. All right, enjoy. All right, let's dig in. So first we're gonna set up our application so that we have an application. So in here, I'm gonna go to a new terminal and just get this going. Now what's cool here is we're gonna see some of the workflow here that I'm having a good time with cursor. Let's see, and I just do a lot of yeses. And so basically, lovable and tempo, all those things are really good, but sometimes I just want to do this because I get stuck less often and it goes a little faster. All right, so that is that. And then we're gonna run, let's get out of the docs there. So then we're gonna run this, and this will give us some prompts we want, and this will make sense in a moment. So now we have our install, and we have no rules, and so this will be the first moment we get some rules into the system. And yes, and that's fine. All right, so now we have rules. And these rules are what I want to start off with, and they come from Supabase, and we start pushing the system to do things a certain way. All right, so I'm going to copy over two more rules, and one of them is the how. This is how I like to build things, so I want it to always stick to this. And so it creates certain paths and certain places to put files. This next one is the business goal. Now there's not much of a business goal here, so I'll just keep it simple for now. And I would usually let it spit out the whole thing, go this far, and then have it build a prompt. So I could even try that. So at this point, we're ready to go, and I don't see the anonymous auth rule, so I'll probably go try to find it, or I'll go look in their docs and bring it down. The other thing that I'm going to show is that I will use the Supabase database, and then we'll use that AI to build out some of this. Now you could use the MCP, but it will work. The MCP will work. Now what I'm going to do is start a local Supabase, but it will work anywhere. And it's just a Postgres URL. It's a little different with Supabase.com. Okay, so now we're going to start this off. So we wanted a page that shows all the tasks, and the tasks don't exist in that table yet, so I'm going to go make that first so the UI doesn't get made with fake data, just to start off. And then we'll do two browsers, one with Chrome and one with Firefox, so we can see the two different users seeing the same things, okay? So now, what database am I using? I'm going to start local. Let's see if I can even do that, because sometimes I have it running. Okay, so what I did was this TOML file came when we did the Supabase init. And again, it doesn't matter. You'll have local, you could have remote, it just doesn't matter. I'm going to show you the three ways, sorry. So when you're working locally, you could just set it here. Let's see if I can find it, right? And you have to have the sign up, there you go. And then when you go to Supabase itself, let's see, Coolify, you would have to just put it here. So this would be disable signups stays as false, enable anonymous users goes to true. And then Supabase itself, Supabase.com, it's obviously a little easier. They have a nice interface, and then you would just click that one. Now, what we're doing here is we're just establishing the person has a session. And I'm jumping ahead because we're going to not use that. We're just going to show tasks, but then we're going to use it. So I'm jumping ahead, but let's see what happens. So I think it's usually this one. So we get nothing, and we then even go to this other place, and we have nothing, okay? So now what we're gonna do is we're just going to build out our table for the tasks. Really simple. And this is what I wanted to show, is that we can just use this AI. So let's close out of that. Didn't mean to do that. Let's remove that. And so when I start in my local, or when you start your Supabase, or if you just use the .com, you'll have a ability to set your credential for OpenAI like that. And if you don't set it and then you start and you set it, you have to then restart in Supabase. So just stop, Supabase stop, Supabase start. And now locally you can just work, but again, it doesn't matter. You could do this on Coolify Dev. You don't have to have a local flow. I'm just doing it because I just didn't want to set up a database. So here I'm going to say to the AI, all right, now I could have done this in the MCP, I know, but I just like how fast this is. And it enabled row level security, but I'm going to go disable it for a moment actually. And let's go look at our table. And we got to get back out of here. And we just want to look at tasks. Okay. And so I'm going to disable row level security. Let's do this. Disable it. Okay. And we're going to go there. All right. Now, what we want to do here is just add some tasks. Again, this is what's nice. So you just get this kind of flow here. And I think I could just run that query. There you go. So look at that. Okay, not exciting, but it could have been more exciting. So now we have tasks. Okay, so now I want the AI to know about this schema. And again, we have the ability to set up an MCP. Let me go grab that. One moment. Let me pause and then look at that. Okay, so hard not to show all your credentials, so I just keep pausing. I'm just going to add in cursor settings MCP, I'm going to add my Supabase local, call it whatever you want. And in here, I'm going to add Postgres, and then they gave me the string right here. So it's basically the string, but then you run into the problem of your talking to your Postgres in Docker. So I pretty much always do this, and that helps, okay? Now I'm on a Mac, it might be different on Windows. Okay, so could I use it? Of course, I should be able to. So there's my cursor settings. And so I'm just going to ask it now in a different chat window for whatever reason. And my T button's not working, so I think that's what I called it. I haven't quite decided how to run them in a way that's easy. Like I always tell to use the MCP. Sometimes it finds it. I don't know if I have a setting that's wrong. I think I am on. Interesting to see if it's using 3.5 or 3.7, or I should be using Google Gemini. Now, as someone who's coded for years, sometimes it could be like this is slower, but sometimes it's like the friction. I could just go do something else. I could let this do its thing and come back to it. So it's a funny balance. And again, it just keeps getting better. Let's see, client, let's see. I thought I installed the client, but we'll see what happens. And we'll accept. All right, I think I already had all that set. Yeah, it's all there. And then it says I should restart it. I should start it npm run dev. All right, probably would have done that for me. And let's go see what we got. All right, we have a task list. Nothing fancy. Okay, so now we're gonna give us some room here. And what I'll do is we'll make that smaller. And then we'll just get Firefox, just have something different. And we'll put that there. Now, as I work, oh, we do have an error, but which is interesting because the other guy didn't see that. That is always interesting. Yeah, it's okay. So what I'm going to do as we work is just to save state, and just so if I have to roll back, I can roll back. I've regretted too many times not doing that. And we'll just probably use this guy because it's so much easier. Okay, so we have this task. We see them both. Now we want to get to the next phase, but to do that, we have to have like a state management in with Supabase. So I wanted to do something, but I don't know if it has the right docs to do it. And I can't remember. Let's go look in these rules. Why not anonymous? Yeah, it's interesting. Supabase docs are really good, and you can feed them to the AI or make sure it's using it. You can always tell Cursor to use it. I could do that. Let me try that. Let me see if it's going to do that. I know sometimes it's not always spot on, but let's see what happens. Let's do this and say, okay, docs, Supabase, anonymous auth. In whatever, I'll sometimes just drag the page over because I don't want to think about it. So here's the app, and I like path-based routing, so I know this is the page. Again, a lot of this will be spat out for you by Lovable or Tempo, but to know how it works, to know how to take it over the next step is key. And so this stuff is good to know, honestly. And here it is. Oh, it's just searching the code. Okay, I thought I was searching the web. Just want to make sure it follows the docs. Here we go. Anonymous sign-ins, and I'll just hand it. Typically, actually, what I do, because you can parse all this with some crazy awesome tools. I just typically find the ones I really want, and I just carry them over, or I add them to my personal MCP, which I got to go update because that would be nice to make sure it has this. So I'm going to make one here saying new file, Supabase, anonymous. And we'll just paste that in there. Okay. So it did it anyways, which is great. Didn't need my help. And we can go here to look out of curiosity. And I'm not really that curious. So let's go look. So that's our directions, and this is our auth. Perfect. Okay, look at that. I know it's nothing fancy. So look at, we got this and this. We got two different users, right? And if we go back to the database, so if we go back to here, and we can see in the table, so we're going to go to auth, schema, auth, users, and we'll look in here, and let's close that, and we'll see now we have all these users, right? That's pretty cool. I don't know why we have 4. I don't think, it usually will not like redo it if you reload the page. So let's go see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it must be from something else I did. So now we have a sense of state here. So now we can take the next step. And I want people not to see each other. First of all, I want people to own their task. And then I want people to not see other people's tasks. So let's first add the UUID. So I'll do this, I'll click through it just so you can understand it. So basically, all we're going to do is go back to our public table. We're going to click on this guy. We're going to then edit, we're going to edit the table. And again, we could do it all in AI. I just want to show how this works, where we can say, okay, we're going to add a column, and I'm going to click this here for a shortcut and say, okay, what are foreign keys? Okay, we're going to say select a schema that we want to relate to, and we want to relate to users, and select the columns from the auth user reference to. So that's funny. I must have not, I got to type it first. Let's do that. User ID. Okay. So we're going to do it again. And we're going to say, select the schema, auth, select the users. So public task user ID will go to auth ID. And when we remove a user, let's get rid of all of their tasks. Now you could have just typed this in AI. It would have done it right here. I just wanted to do it in front of you so you can see. So now let's go grab, just so we can start off with something, let's go grab this user and we'll give them the first, oh, it's going to make me do it this way. Okay, cool. So that would be 1FE. So we're going to choose that. That's pretty cool. I like this UI is nice. It's not, obviously you can have a better, like more user-friendly UI, but this is perfect for a little bit more techie, but powerful. And this guy is 3BF. So if we go here, we have 3BF. Now, you would imagine then that at this point, that if we go to the page with the 3BF, they would only have 3. And you would imagine then that the person at this page would have 2, but they don't because we haven't done anything. So now, what we want to do is add row level security. You don't want to try to alter the query to say, not that you can't, and not that you're not going to end up doing this anyways to make the query more optimal. But when AI does the query for you, it's going to say, give me the Supabase task for my user ID. But nothing's really stopping the user using your system from potentially faking out the system and getting all of them, okay? So what we're going to do is now turn on row level security so that it has to be for that person. So if we go into the database and we now say, we go to our task and we enable row level security. And we look at the policies, there's none, okay? Let's see what happens when we just reload it, because I'm curious. Look at it, they're all gone because it's there and there's nothing that allows it to do anything. So it's, I forget the term for it, but basically it just doesn't trust by default. And now we want to add the task, and here I'm going to let AI do it. So let's see, seen, edited, deleted. I should have put the whole, oh, it did it anyways, okay. And there probably was some nice button to click, run the query. And remember, we have all this. If you were to move this dev Supabase to your production, we can just download the migrations and move them over. Would it always work that easily? Probably not, but you'll see it won't be too bad. All right, so now we have a policy. So what do we got? So now we see 3 tasks, and now we see 2 tasks. Pretty cool, right? So now we're going to prove it works all the way through. So I want to go to /task ID. And this is a very common pattern, and this is how my how page works. So let's go commit this so that we don't lose it when AI goes off the rails, because it does, okay? So now most of my how talks about doing this, and so I'll let it know. So I won't talk about security to it. I'm just going to have it do this particular thing. And what's pretty cool here is, but you'll see here, like, it does this thing, and this is what I like, where now I'm in source app tasks. And then we have an ID, the dynamic route, and then we have a page that is the particular page that's rendering our tasks. So it's nice. Now I don't know, let's see if it did. Okay, it followed the rules, but I want to add one more thing here. Sorry, the T button just went out today. All right, so if we go back, we can now view. So let me pause and fix that error because it's pretty boring, and then I'll come back. Okay, good thing you can't see the clock, but part of it is just me learning how to do this stuff. And I did it for so many years and been stuck so many times in other frameworks that I'm not worried about the stuckness. As I learn the patterns, it gets easier and easier, and I realize what is wrong, and so I get out of it quicker. In this case, I went back and forth with Gemini. I turned it up to Gemini. I grabbed those anonymous docs and threw them in there, and I showed it the working page versus the not. Another troubleshooting tip is turn off row level securities or lower them, but don't make that your answer. Like, so in here, I went in and I said, okay, true. And then it worked. And then I was like, okay, listen, something's wrong, because I can turn it to true or off, disable them, and it works. So you can see where you start to troubleshoot. And again, it's tempting to just turn it off, but don't. Take your time, go back and forth. It was hard. Basically, in the end, it did some changes, I think, at the, let me see before I open my mouth here. And sadly, it's pretty much a new file. But I just showed it like it was using this on the other page, and I had some troubleshooting ability on the other page because I had the anonymous area. Sorry, I had that page showing the anonymous UID. So it's like these little things help you work it through. And then it did a good job of putting stuff in the console. But anyway, so back to the point. So now what we have, quite simply, and when you look at the code, it is quite a simple concept, right? We're storing the particular security or ACL inside the database. Now this is really cool because what I'm going to also play on is this becomes your core, your hub to other user interfaces. So you might have a user interface where, you know, you're doing this, and then you want another user interface, because that's not a bad pattern. And having different apps communicate with this system, this core Supabase, means you can have smaller code bases that will work better with AI, that will be delivered to different developers to get the job done, or AI systems. Having the core of your logic, your business logic, inside of this Supabase database area is really nice, actually. So what did it do? It took this file, it put it in this folder, and then it did the query. So it just says, okay, I'm going to ask Supabase for all the tasks. But see, it doesn't even say who is your user ID, which is cool because it's part of the policies. And that's it. It just worked. Again, it got stuck because I think it needed to switch to this, so it was a different way of processing the page and rendering it. All right, so at that note, if I go to 1, so let's see, I don't own 1. How do we know that? We know that because if we go to here, we have all my tasks. And if we go to number 5 and click on it, I can do that. And we know those are mine. Now, if I go back to Firefox and go to the home, we see I don't have 5 here. Now, if I was to just drag this over here, I should get rejected, okay? And it's just because nothing comes out of the database. That kind of shows how easy that can be. Now, again, as you do a few of these, you start to have the example code. I'm going to save this into my document repository. Now you see that I put a bunch of files in here, but right after I hang up, I'm going to put any updates I did to here into the anonymous one, make sure it's there. And I'm going to give this example. So next time it just gets easier and easier. I'll show what that looks like if people want. It's a very simple MCP. And the reason I want that is because I don't want to now go update this for all my other projects. I want them all there so I can go get them. It's such a simple MCP because there's no RAG. Like, I only have so many files, so I just shove them all into the LM and say, okay, here's my question, here's my source data, go get me an answer. So I'll show that after in the next video because I think it is a good one and it's so simple. Anyone can do it. You could do it in so many ways, but I'll show you how I did that. All right, I hope this helps you understand MCPs a little bit, not MCPs, row-level security a little bit more, how easy it is to get to use and put it into your application and get the benefits of that. And then the next one I want to do is basically team or project level, row-level security. And there's some docs on that in Supabase, how you can see a set of data for a project, for a team, or a project, and those users are in those projects and only they have access to that data. And you can see where this won't work because you can't put the user ID in the table. So I'll cover that as well. Not the funnest stuff, but it's, if we do this right, we're building our application from the inside out, and we're creating this foundation that the AI can't really make mistakes in the way of leaving you where you're unprotected. So obviously it can make mistakes, but it didn't open up the database to malicious use or even accidental use. All right, thank you. And there's a forum link down below. I will share all this code and more details there. All right, thank you.